Larry, it looks like there's a clock that says 7 o'clock, so let's just go on the road. Let the roll call show that we're all here, and pledge of allegiance is next. The pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we have an agenda before us, and I've been informed that on old business number 6.1, the infrastructure feasibility study for the Pontius project will be moved to the 14th of November. Other than that, is there any changes to the agenda that we're all looking at?
I don't have anything. Make a motion from the agenda.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? That carries. We have an agenda. Thank you for that. That brings us to the consent agenda. Is there anybody that would like to remove anything from the consent agenda?
Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to note that I will be abstaining from voting on the consent agenda due to item 4.2.
Thank you.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second. There's a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That carries 4-0 with Councillor Gerald abstaining. That brings us to number 5. This is the open forum portion of the meeting where we encourage the public to let us know what's on your mind. We'll limit you to 3 minutes for sake of time, and we will not discuss legal matters. So now is your chance. I see a lot of firefighters and firefighter people here, so I'm guessing that's that group. And I recognize these guys.
We're the other group.
The other group. And I don't see anybody racing to the door, so we'll move on to old business, which we moved. And that brings us to Brett Tholen. I said that right?
Yep.
Okay, oath of office time for Brett Tholen. Come up here in the front and we'll do that, and then we'll make sure everybody has a chance for pictures afterwards. Do you have another one of these? Oh, I have another one. Okay, I'll start and you can follow me. And here we go. Raise your right hand. I, Brent Tholen,
I, Brent Tholen,
do hereby solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
do hereby solemnly swear that I support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
and the Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
and that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
justly,
justly,
and impartially discharge the duties of a Princeton firefighter
and impartially discharge the duties of a Princeton firefighter
for the city of Princeton,
for the city of Princeton,
County of Mille Lacs,
County of Mille Lacs,
State of Minnesota,
State of Minnesota,
to the best of my knowledge and ability.
to the best of my knowledge and ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Welcome. Thank you.
Away from the pole.
Am I supposed to smile?
Welcome, bud. Take as much time as you want, guys. Oh, you got it.
Okay. Good job. Thank you.
Are you all, if you want to stay, you're welcome. Otherwise, feel free to, go do your stuff.
Go watch the game.
That's great. Football game. There you go.
Thank you.
I believe the boys have it here.
Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you.
Yeah. I don't know. We need to hear. All right, let's move on. We have donations for Mark Park improvements and improvement project and scoreboard. So we've got 5 of them, so Let me just say that we have Grow With Us Childcare. We'll get to all the resolutions. I just want to say them out loud. First Bank and Trust, Crystal Cabinets, Steinbrecher Painting, and Princeton Insurance Agency. So that's all very awesome. So with that, we'll go through the resolutions accepting the donations.
I make a motion to approve resolution 24-68 from Growth of Child Care Center.
We have a motion and a second from Grow With Us Childcare. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Opposed? That carries. Donation from Crystal Cabinets.
Oh, thank you.
Did I miss one?
Yep.
Oh, sorry. First Bank and Trust.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 24-69 to accept a donation from First Bank and Trust for $250.
Second.
Motion and second. Additional discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? That carries. Now we're at Crystal Cabinets.
I'll make a motion, 24-70 to accept the donation from Crystal for $500.
No, that's 5,000.
5,000.
Oh, I'm sorry, 5,000.
That's a very nice donation.
That Growth Us was 500.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Carries. Brings us to Steinbrecher Painting.
Make a motion to approve resolution 24-71, the amount of $1,000 from Steinbrecher Painting.
Second.
Motion and a second for the $1,000 donation. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? That carries. Princeton Insurance Agency. Ooh, they're nice one.
I'll move, resolution -24 or 24-74, Princeton Insurance Agency for $5,000.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. More discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Also carries. This scoreboard has to be just about paid for.
We're almost 50%.
Almost 50%. Well,
This is like Legion has committed 5,000, but we can't give them the check till November.
well, we're getting there then.
Waiting patiently. Waiting patiently.
All right. Well, that's fantastic. And I'm glad to see, and I think I remember seeing all of these names on the Solheim Field scoreboard. So it's awesome that they're doing this field too. So that's fantastic. All right, moving on. We've got a Princeton Police Department donation from the Ruzek family.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Charles and Teresa had stopped by and wanted to donate $250 to our K-9 program. So we are obviously greatly appreciated with the expenses that we have with the program.
Make a motion to approve resolution 24-73.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye, opposed? So carries. That's a very nice donation. Okay, now we're to the Pontiac project, West Plains Development. We'll have to get used to saying that. So,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Several items under 7.4 will relate to this project. There was a public hearing held at the Planning Commission on October 21st, this past Monday, for all the items under agenda 7.4 here. Public testimony was received by the Planning Commission for each item. At that time, public comment was taken. So now technically the public hearing is closed. The Planning Commission did forward a recommendation of approval for all of these items that are listed under 7.4. We'll go through each one. I just wanted to kind of recap what happened at the Planning Commission to start with. Todd Olin is also in the audience if anyone has questions for him specifically on the development the applicant can speak even though public is closed. Okay.
That brings us to 7.4.1, which is an ordinance, will be a first reading, amending the zoning ordinance.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. One of the things that we're noticing in larger developments like this is internal parking for overflow parking when people have guests over, or they have parties or whatever. Our ordinance was done in 1995. There's a lot of old language in our subdivision ordinance. We are working on redoing that this next year. But for this project, we did need to amend a particular portion of it to allow for that internal parking. So staff is requesting the approval of, or the first reading of ordinance 864, just to strike out item 3, which talks about backing directly under the streets shall be prohibited for that internal parking.
All right, take a motion to introduce ordinance 864.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion on that? Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carries. 7.4.2 is a resolution 2466 approving a comprehensive plan map amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Currently, this property is in our land use plan as parks and open space and residential low density. Resolution 24-66 is requesting to change the comprehensive plan, which is also known as the land use plan, to high density residential for the proposed plat.
Any more questions for Stacy on that one?
Make a motion to approve resolution 24-66.
Second.
Motion and a second. Additional discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Also carries. 7.4.3, ordinance 862, amending the zoning map for a portion of the, I'm just gonna say West Plains development from A1 agricultural to R3 multifamily district and a PUD.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. This is introduction of ordinance 862 to amend our zoning map for a portion of this property from A1 agricultural to R3 multifamily and PUD residential. This will be for the twin homes and the townhomes. This will be the first reading.
Make a motion to approve ordinance 862.
Be an introduction.
Sorry, introduction.
Second.
Motion is made to introduce ordinance 862 for the twin homes and the townhomes in West Plains. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. And now we're to 7.4.4, another ordinance 863, amending the zoning map for West Plains for a medical office residential district.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. This is an introduction of ordinance 863 to amend the zoning map for the southern portion of this plat. It is currently A1 agricultural. This is where they would be putting the senior facility, the 80 unit senior facility, which requires it to be rezoned to MOR, which is medical office residential. This is the first reading.
Make a motion to introduce ordinance 863.
Second.
A motion and a second. Is there additional discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Also carries. That brings us to West Plains preliminary plat.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Resolution 24-72, probably the most important one out of this whole group of them, is to approve the preliminary plat for West Plains. If there is any questions on the documents or some of the development, like I said, Todd is here to help answer questions, or I can as well.
Big, and is there any questions for either Todd or Stacy?
Make a motion to approve resolution 24-72.
Second.
A motion and a second. More discussion?
I talked to Stacy earlier today. So we had an issue many, many years ago in Meadowview, my own neighborhood, my neighborhood. Where the side yard setbacks were kind of overlooked because decks were added later and I just. But everything was fine. I got a very good answer from Stacy, it was all checked out, so. I think,
So you just want to make sure that.
yeah,
Problem.
I didn't want to see that happen again.
Yeah.
Their plans actually show the screen-in porches on each of the, homes, so it's already being taken into account.
And I would also like to, publicly thank staff for doing a very thorough job on going through all of this. I mean, reading through the documents tonight in the packet, it was a lot of work. Yeah, I mean, it was very thoughtful and I think that there was this extra effort on making sure it was all done right. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
I appreciate that as well, and Mary Lou in our office had a huge part in this. She does the memos, so if you see her, also thank her.
I had a conversation with her on Tuesday and it was, I think she was happy to push it across the finish line. So with that, so I'm sorry, do we have
We
a
have a motion.
motion and a second yet?
Yes.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? That carries. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Todd, for coming to Princeton. That's awesome.
Yeah. Could I just say one?
Sure, please.
Yeah.
This is a kind of a follow-up to what your comments were earlier as far as your staff and how it came together. As you all know, there's a lot of moving parts to these projects. And this one, in a case in point, is as a township road, an annexation that you've already seen, zoning, comprehensive map adjustments, preliminary plat, and TIF that's coming down the pike eventually here. When this thing started rolling, it was really a all hands on deck approach. And there's a couple of people here that are critical that can't hear this. I hope they do hear through maybe Stacy or whatever, but Michelle and Stacy and Tammy at your Northland Financial has been phenomenal. Very responsible, responsive, just incredible. I don't get up and say that at every city I'm sitting at. So please know that you have a great group here and it's been very helpful.
And thank you for that.
Thank you.
And I wholeheartedly concur with your statements about staff. They've been fantastic, so.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, well, all of that excitement. Healthcare, any contribution policy might be that exciting, but
Oh,
what's happening?
yes, we're here, or I'm here on behalf of our internal committee to present to the council some information about setting our city contributions for next year. We have had a number of meetings. We looked at a number of options this year, and I'd like to thank the members of the committee. They're listed in the memo this evening. We took a very broad. We pushed our broker NFP to give us as many options for consideration this year as possible. You can see the list of those things that we looked at. We made some decisions. The committee was very thoughtful, very mindful, really looked at costs, premium costs, not only to the city, but also to our employees. We also looked at the demographics of our employees. We have single employees who think they're invincible, and we have other employees who are at a different point in their life, and everybody looks at health insurance, and it's a very personal financial decision. So at the end of the day, what we came to is that we're going to stay with our current provider, MHC. They're a consortium. We are going to stay with Medica. We did, however, push Medica to provide us with a secondary set of plans, which would provide an option for lower out-of-pocket, maximum out-of-pockets for employees. And so, that chart is in the memo. I'm not gonna read all the numbers, for you, but you can look at what, essentially what we've come up with. And then, of course, once we selected the plans, and looked at the premiums, then we moved on to identifying what should the city's contribution be towards offsetting premium costs. The committee, by consensus agreed that, the city itself should absorb the premium costs and not pass those on to the employees. And we also discussed having a maximum percentage by which if premiums went up above that, then we would basically come back to the council and come back and reconsider whether we needed to put a portion of any increases onto the employees. And kind of at the last minute, we were given a lead on a product or a program called Kavira. And that is, it almost replaces urgent care, except that it's got a bit of a twist. They actually do house calls, which is pretty interesting. And I was able to finally hear back from our broker that there is if we engage Kavira, which is an employer paid for benefit, our premiums through MHC would be reduced by 1.5%, which we then can put that money towards the cost of that program. So the numbers in the memo are going to change just slightly. We're still recommending that we absorb the premium increase, but the contribution is going to go down slightly, and we're going to push that savings into the cost of providing that Kavira, assuming that the council approves the recommendation that's in the memo. So our recommendation to the council is that you adopt the city contributions amount. And for single contribution, the city's portion, our city would cover $835.61, as opposed to what is in the memo. And for family, the city's contribution would be $1,514.27. So that is recommendation number one. Recommendation number two is that we set policy that the city will absorb any annual premium increases up to 15% of the Passport HSA 6,200/12,400 plan. That's the maximum out of pocket. Any change, if we were to change providers or consortiums, or if the increase went up above that, we would come back to the city council for a different consideration. And then recommendation number three is that we offer Kavira as an additional healthcare benefit that would be employer paid to our employees. And I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Can I just make a statement? that,
Yes.
This year, the increase only applies to the 6,200, 12,400 plan because that's the only one we had last year.
Correct. Yeah,
But going forward, it would be both plans.
correct.
I just wanted to make that clear.
Kavira seems like a very interesting thing. I don't know, we'll see how it works, but
Well,
it
it's-
sounds good.
It's very inexpensive. It's what, $25 a month
It's $27 per employee per month.
That's it. And it's such an amazing thing because it's so frustrating and I've been working on it, but we have no urgent care in Princeton.
No, we do not.
And so they have telemedicine, they can provide and bring medications to someone's home. They can do home care checks, so for some of our employees who might have young children at home, making it very difficult to travel to a clinic or the emergency room. I think this is an interesting benefit. We did reach out to a couple of other cities. We received, an extremely glowing recommendation from the city of Andover. They absolutely love the Kavira program and so do their employees. So, for the cost, that it is, again, that $27, per month per employee. We think it's a good option. We can always opt out. We're not committed. It's not so, it's not a long-term commitment on our part. If we find that employees aren't pleased with it or they're not taking advantage of it, we can rethink it next year as part of our healthcare, cafeteria options. But at this point, we are recommending that we pursue that.
Well, in the world of health insurance, it's one of the too good to be true things. But I love it. But I'm missing where there must be a brick and mortar facility somewhere. I mean,
No,
so where they fly a doctor in from California?
No, they've engaged with, they don't have clinics. It's literally traveling, physician's assistants, registered nurses, et cetera. And within 4 hours, as long as you contact them, and they have fairly broad business hours, you can get a same day house call.
There has to be a doctor somewhere involved,
Probably, but
but you're never gonna see the doctor. It's gonna be
Yeah.
a professional that's not a doctor, so. Which is what you get when you go to urgent care.
I was gonna say, sometimes it's what you get when you visit. Regular.
Not-
No, that closed a long time ago.
So the closest one, there's one in Malacca and there's one.
Zimmerman,
I don't know if there's one.
but they're not affiliated, it's opened.
Yeah.
Not affiliated with Fairview though, and so some of the insurance plans, when you pick which one you want, it's only Fairview in North Memorial, so if you go to those, it's
They
not
wouldn't.
part of the plan.
So there's what's talking about the competition for them.
Yeah.
You know, it's-
No, this Kavira sounds interesting and really good, so,
Yeah.
and maybe there's a way to make healthcare not so complicated.
Well, it's certainly worth a try, I would say.
Yeah, definitely.
It is handy and convenient, but I've used for telemedicine.
Back to home videos again.
Have you used this company? Is that? what
Not
you're-
this company, but other telemedicine.
Oh, good.
So I don't think you mentioned about the difference in the price from what you estimated or what you
Oh,
put in the
Correct.
levy.
Yes, I did not mention that. So in the unallocated, because I didn't know where the committee was gonna land, there's about $147,000 in the unallocated. That's gonna come down significantly, once we recalculate all of the, various, who picks what for, for their coverage. So there's plenty of space to, the change in the absorption of the premium costs, will be about 13,000, if my memory serves me correctly from what I did yesterday afternoon. And then, the Kavira will run us another roughly $5,000. So there's plenty of money in the budget, and the reduction of what we've determined will, essentially help the bottom line of the levy once I respect everything.
18,000. Find that on allotment, right?
Correct, but the levy's gonna go down significantly, so.
Definitely. Okay.
All right, so we have, some recommendations. Do you want to just approve them 1, 2, 3, or all at once, or? I think we can do them all at once.
I'm fine with that,
Okay.
and I'll just note the change in the,
I make a motion to approve the healthcare plan as presented. Yeah, that's how you want to word it. Or-
correct, and I'll put Sean and I will make sure the correct dollar amounts are in the minutes.
Second.
Is there a second?
Second.
A motion made and a second. Additional discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? That carries. That brings us to the bill list.
I got a ton of questions.
No, we're done. I said you had 10 minutes before this game.
I don't have anything. I got nothing.
I'm so proud of you.
Lots of checks this week, but they were all little checks,
Yeah.
I'm Dylan.
Except mine, yeah.
except for Dylan's. His is always the same size.
Big money, big money.
Yeah.
So I move to approve the October 2024 check register containing checks 88867 to 8888948 and ACH payments 241069 to 241086 and 1024241 totaling $517,806.93, as well as the pay period 21 check register containing ACH payments 242111001 through 2421193 and a check 88866 totaling $189,279.97.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the bill list, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Brings us to the city administrator's bi-weekly report.
In the interest of, keeping things short,
Let's go.
unless somebody has questions, the report will stand as written.
All right, any questions? Committee reports?
I do have one, and geez, I'll make it quick. We had our regular monthly meeting of the Public Utilities Commission, actually last week. Okay, we approved an agreement with East Central Energy to transfer its electric service territories within the city limits to public, Princeton Public Utilities. That was a big mission. Keith needs to be applauded for that, so. The commission heard a presentation from city engineer Jan Edison regarding the West Plains mixed use development, which is basically a repeat of what we've been doing here. The commission increased the maximum limits for capital improvement funds for both electric and water to $2 million each. Current limits were established in 2012. Funds are earmarked for large planned capital expenditures in the next 3 to 8 years. The commission heard a proposal to modify the ECA Energy Cost Adjustment Program that will utilize the rate stabilization fund. I wish Keith were there. To address price volatility in the wholesale market and provide price stability to our customers. And actually, the final decision will be made at a later meeting. This was the presentation. We're gonna mull it over for a month and then make a decision. And we heard the budget proposals, and our hope is to approve the budget at the November meeting. That's it, I guess.
Thank you for that.
I don't think so.
Anything else?
So if anybody needs tickets for the wine tasting, I just don't have some.
All right, number 9.
Second.
Motion made, seconded, all in favor?
Bye.
Aye. Opposed? Go.